Awesome. Good morning, traders. Welcome to Price Plan Profit. This is Melissa. And every Saturday we do a live session. I'm going to walk you through how I build a watch list for swing trades. We're going to start from the very beginning. So I will clear my watch list and we will build one together. Then I'll take those names on this live session and I'm going to narrow it down to 6 to 8 names that I will be focusing on for swing trades next week. Good morning, Andy and Ivan, all of you that got up early on this cold in Florida Saturday morning. Let's see, the temperature right now is 47 degrees and I am freezing. Good morning, Darren and Westlake. So great to have all of you here. So let's get started. I want to explain to you how I even begin building a watch list. First off, on my screen, you'll see koyfin.com. That's KOYFIN.com. That is the website that I use to look for the sectors in the market that are showing relative strength. And just like with any charts, I like to start from a top down approach. And since today's the first day of November, it's crazy, but 2025 has almost come to an end. I'm going to start with the year to date look first, and then I will go down all the way from a year all the way down to last week's price action. So, what I'm looking for here is these are the sectors on the right hand side. And you can see GDX, that's gold miners. They are up 112.5% year to date. That is crazy. So you can see the sectors over this year, right? From January 1 to November 1. Here is where the strength has been in the market. Then these here in the middle, they're just kind of hanging out. And at the bottom here, this is showing the sectors that are weak in the market. So even though this market has been very bullish this year, notice that staples, consumer staples, is down here at the bottom. Home builders, XOP is down here at the bottom, and JETS, which is your airlines. This is a weak area of the market. We're making new all time highs left and right. And these sectors and the names that trade in them are red on the year. Okay. So, from a top down approach, looking back across this year, I can see that my top 5 to 6 sectors are gold miners, metals and mining, semiconductors, the tech sector, utilities, communications. This is where the strength has been this year. Now, let me move that down to a 3-month look back. So once I step down in time frame, I'm looking for any shift in that top 5 to 6. All right. So notice the big name that stick or the big sector that sticks out here is oil services. It was not in the top 5 or 6 on a year to date look back. It was actually all the way down here. That is a clue, right? That there is some strength or a some rotation into oil services. All right. Otherwise, you still have gold miners, metals and mining, semiconductor sector, technology, and communications up here. Another thing that I notice when looking back is you see utilities here on a year to date look back, but on a 3-month look back, they've dropped down to more towards the middle. As far as the bottom here, you really have the same names over the last 3 months. Financials is actually negative. Uh, KRE, which is regional banks, that is negative as well as real estate and materials, and then consumer staples. But notice jets, the airline sector, moved up from the bottom up to the middle of the pack. All right. Now I'm going to step this down to a 1 month look back. So basically, the month of October. Where was the strength, and what do I see that is different from the year to date or the 3 month look back? Notice that gold miners and metals and mining have moved down. Remember, they were at the top, and now, just through October, they're no longer at the top. Now, metals and mining is still in the top five, but gold miners has definitely taken a back seat. Gold futures themselves, very, very, very strong this year. They got above 4,000, which is crazy to think, and they made new all-time highs. And then over the last few weeks, they've had a pullback. I am still interested in looking for swing trades around the gold market, whether that be gold itself or some miners of gold, just because from a Fibonacci perspective, they've pulled back into the bullish channel. And so, with something that's been so strong, it's still going to make my watch list. But I know that I could experience some further pullback. And for that reason, if I'm going to take a trade like that, I want to give myself plenty of time to be in the trade and make sure, as always, I'm trading with a risk amount that I am comfortable with. So I have already noted on my scratch pad the top 5 to 6 here. Anything else I notice? You see healthcare, XLV, has made its way to the top 5 to 6 there. That is different than the 3 month look back, where healthcare was still more in the middle of the pack, a little bit up. And year to date, healthcare was definitely right there at the middle of the pack. So, healthcare is climbing on up. That tells me I want to have some healthcare names on my watch list to see if we continue climbing. All right. And then looking down at the lowest level, I'm going to look at the last 5 days, which would be Monday through Friday last week. Semiconductors still very strong. Oil services up now at number 2. So you can tell they're climbing the ladder there. What else do we have? We have tech. We have consumer discretionary, of course, Amazon and their big earnings beat definitely helped XLY. The big names in XLY are Amazon and Tesla. So the big beat on Amazon's earnings and the fact that they closed up $21 yesterday is definitely helping the consumer discretionary sector there. Industrials, they have made it into the top here on the 5 day look back. And then energy, interesting. The energy is up here towards the top on a 5-day look back, because if I look back over the month, right, a month look back, energy is still here at the middle. All right. Ah, thanks, Michelle. Yeah, guys, if you haven't already, smash the like button. That gets this information out to other traders via YouTube. I would appreciate it. Doesn't take any time at all. Thanks for a reminder, Michelle. I always forget to do that. By the way, those that I haven't said good morning to, such as Marco and Life in Sarasota, Florida, right down the road from me. Good morning. Good morning, Darren and Randall. Good to have y'all with me. So, once I have taken this top down approach, looking for relative strength in the market over year to date, the last 3 months, the last month, and the last 5 days, I want to see some confluence. What do I mean? The names that are making the lists, and so looking for rotation names that were towards the bottom that are moving their way up. So that's going to help me build a watch list. Now, I have a watch list column that I label bullish, and I am focused on bullish setups because the overall market is in a bullish trend. I put names on here every week, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to clear this out. Now, anything above where Apple was at, that's just futures that I like to have on this list. So when I'm looking, I know what the futures market. Oh, geez, I hate these alerts right here, the futures market is doing at any time. I personally don't trade futures, but I need to know what those charts are doing. So I leave them at the top of this list. That way, if during the trading day I'm on this list looking at the names that are on my bullish watch list for swing trades, I know what's going on in the market. So just give me a second to clear these names off because I do want to go from a clean slate for all of you, because I know we have a lot of new people joining us, because in the trendy room at Simpler Trading, we are doing a 30-day account challenge. And during the account challenge, we are working on becoming more confident traders, consistent traders, and disciplined traders. And building a watch list is part of that discipline. Why do I say that? Well, simply because if you have a plan before price gets to an area of that you would want to buy or sell at, if you have a plan in advance, that is discipline, guys. The plan is so very important. In the beginning of my trading career, I would start a trade with no plan in sight. I just was like, hey, this looks good. I'm going to buy it here. And I had no idea where my stop loss was. In other words, where I was wrong on the trade. I had no idea where I was going to take profits. I was just shooting in the wind, so to speak. And so having a plan is so vital to being disciplined, consistent, and confident. And it's vital to your P&L. And the very first step in having a plan is having a watch list. All right. So now that I have cleared out this bullish watch list, I want to introduce you to another website, because you might not know what trades in those relatively strong sectors that I mentioned. So the watch list is going to be here, right here at ETFDB. ETFDB is where I can see what names trade in specific sectors. So, does anyone have a sector that I mentioned that you want me to take a look at first for what trades in that sector? And give me a second. For some reason, my chat window went away. That's not going to be good. Give me just a second so I can get the chat back up so I can see what y'all are saying. That's important, right? All right. Deepak was first, and you want to take a look on ETFDB at XLK. So, the way that I find the names, the top weighted names within the technology sector is right up here. You have this looking glass. Click on that, and then in the search, you're going to type in XLK. All right. We go over here on the left-hand side and it says holdings. Click there, and that's going to bring up the top weighted names within XLK. So you have NVIDIA, Apple, Microsoft, Broadcom, Palantir, AMD, Oracle, IBM, Cisco, MU, CRM, you get the point. Over here, it will tell you what percentage of that sector is made up of NVIDIA. 15%. If you look here, between the top three being NVIDIA, Apple, and Microsoft, and you add these together, you're going to know that you're about 40% of the technology sector is made up of these top three names. So, if NVIDIA, Apple, and Microsoft are doing poorly on any given day, you can almost guarantee that XLK is also going to be doing poorly, and vice versa. If these names are doing great, then XLK is going to be looking great as well. Once I know what's trading within these sectors, then I build a flex grid of those top names. So if I go here to my flex grids and I just look at XLK, you're going to see that I have the top weighted names in that sector here on this list. Now, IBM was here and or not IBM, sorry, MU was here and I don't have it on this flex grid, so I'm going to switch it out for NOW. All right. All right. So once I have my flex grids all built out, then I don't have to go to ETFDB again. I usually update the top weighted names about once a month. I don't have to do it every single day or every week. They don't change that much, but that's the way that I have a quick list of the top weighted names. And then I look at these top weighted names, right, when I'm building my watch list because I know that the technology sector is strong right now. So I want to pick some names in this technology sector that I would be looking to trade. And let me clear the drawings off of a couple of these charts real quick, just so we have candles, and that's all, besides the trendy indicators, of course. So if I look here, I can see that NVIDIA Microsoft, look at Microsoft. It had that pullback on earnings. That's a name that I could definitely be interested in trading here if it is coming or near a buy zone. Now, for the account challenge, I actually um, reset my balance to a small account. I reset it to $5,000. And so I'm trading with a smaller allocation. I could not afford to trade Microsoft because the cost of the options are too expensive. But there are leveraged ETFs that are much more affordable. And for Microsoft, that would be MSFU. So rather than trading Microsoft itself, I can trade that leveraged ETF and it's more affordable for my small account. So if I'm giving you a Microsoft chart, but you're also trading from a small account, then you could use the leveraged ETF like what I would do for this trendy account and still trade off of this Microsoft chart just at the targets whenever Microsoft say that up here was a target and I had an alert set for at or above 541, right? When that alert were to go off, I would know to trim my MSFU. Okay? And that's how we do it. Let's see, Michelle, you asked about the semiconductor sector, which of course is super duper bullish this year, this month, this quarter, this week, everything. Here's your main names within the semiconductor sector there. So, with that being said, let's look at the list and get an idea of some names that I want to put on this big watch list. Then I will narrow this down to 6 to 8. So let's start here with the semiconductor sector since I have it pulled up and look at the names that are number one. Okay, the first criteria that I want to see because I'm looking for bullish plays. Okay, I want to see names that are above the daily cloud. This is an EMA cloud. It's a trendy indicator. It has a lot of coding built into it to give us buy and sell signals, and it changes my candle colors. But it is comprised of the 9, the 13, the 22, and the 44 EMAs. Okay. But I want to see price above at or above this cloud for it to make my name. I want to see green candles. Now, I will trade names with red candles if I'm looking for a leap trade because I love to buy on sell. And if something I'm looking to trade for a year or more, or maybe buy equity on, it would have to be on supercell. And then I'm going to have red candles. But since today we're building a watch list for next week and for trades that I plan to be in, for more than a day, but less than 3 months, let's say, I'm not going to focus on leap type trades. I want to focus on those shorter term swing trades. All right. So NVIDIA is strong, it's above the daily cloud. It is going to go on my list. I just type in the ticker here and it adds it to that list. TSM also, it's right at this daily cloud. It's got green candles. It's showing strength. We got a pullback yesterday in TSM, but remember, I'm a dip buyer. And so I need those pullbacks to get into trades. So I'm going to add TSM here. Broadcom also, well, you see this inside and down candlestick structure. I know I have immediate resistance right here, but that's okay. I'm looking to buy a dip down in this area of Broadcom, so I will add Broadcom to my watch list. AMD has been super strong. A lot of these names have earnings coming up next week, and I don't typically start a swing trade prior to earnings, but after earnings, if say AMD were to come down into a buy zone down in here, then it would be a play for me. So I'm going to go ahead and put it on my list, but I know that I'm not going to jump in it before the 4th of November, which I believe is Tuesday. MU would also qualify here. So let me add MU. Give me 1 second, guys. All right. Whew. Okay. Yeah. So I chose those names that are the most heavily weighted here. I could also look at trading Qualcomm. It also has earnings coming up on Wednesday. So I'm not going to put it on my list because I do already have 5 names here. So Qualcomm and AMAT are 2 names that could also be on the list. But now let's go to the technology sector, which is another relatively strong sector in this very bullish market. Obviously, you're going to have some overlap between semiconductors and technology. I don't need to write NVIDIA on my watch list again, and it is an overlapper. But I know I want Microsoft on here. I mentioned that I would trade it with the leveraged ETF. All right. But I'm going to chart it off the Microsoft chart. Yes, Gary. They are sorted by the most heavily weighted, but I have not updated it for November yet. So, yes, I start at the top and then I work my way down. Okay. All right. So, I added Microsoft, Apple. Apple is another one that I want on my watch list. So, let me add Apple. Broadcom is a duplicate. Oracle, let me look at this price action. Okay, here's an example of a name that just isn't going to make my list. And let me explain why. Simply put, it's below the daily cloud. Now, if I were looking to swing trade this for a longer duration, I would trade it below this daily cloud. But right now, and where my focus at shorter term, I'm not going to add Oracle to my list. Palantir, what a name. This thing is on fire. It reports earnings Monday after the bell. It's making my list, but obviously I would wait. I wouldn't put on a swing trade um, on Monday morning. I'm going to wait until Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever day, if we have a strong pullback, or if this thing gaps up, I'll run some Fibonacci's on it and look for key Fibonacci levels to trade off of. Cisco is going to make my list here. It is it's in a relatively strong sector, but it is also relatively strong as well. What else? IBM is a good one. MU, we already have that on here. Salesforce, it would be another option here. So let me add IBM and Salesforce real quick. And don't worry, don't think that I'm going to build trade plans for every one of these names. I'm going to narrow this down to the 6 to 8 that I really want to focus on. Having such a broad focus, tons and tons of names can get can muddle your mind. I like to narrow my focus down. I'm going to pick the best ones for my trading style. Once I have a long list, say of 20 to 30 names, we're narrowing it down to 6 to 8. All right, so there is semiconductors. There are the names from the tech sector that I would be interested in swing trading. Another sector that was at the top of the list as far as strength is concerned was communication sector was on there, as well as consumer discretionary. So let's look at communication sector first and see. Meta. Wow, what a drop this one has. If you're in the trendy room, Monday at the last hour of the day, I'm doing a long term uh, session for long term trades. And I am going to talk about a long term entry for Meta using the leveraged ETF METU. So be sure and join me in the trendy room for that session on Monday at 2 o'clock Central Time because Meta is getting very close to a place that I would be interested in leap trading from. All right. Google's definitely going to make my list here. Google is doing its best to hold a key Fibonacci zone, and I want it on my watch list for a potential trade. Now, Netflix has been struggling for a while. It is a name that I do not have, believe it or not, in my long term portfolio, but it is in a buy zone here. Netflix is another one that I want to discuss on Monday, the last hour of the day. Other names on the communications sector that would be in play for me would be WBD. This is Warner Brothers. EA, this one's kinda tough to trade, guys, and I really don't like this price action right here. It is very tight price action, so I'm gonna stay away from that. Twilio has or TTWO, I think that's Twilio. It has, made a nice rally here. It has earnings coming up towards the end of the week. That's why I'm not putting it on the list because this is a list just for next week. All right. Mike, I do not have a video on how I set up the flex grid sectors. Remind me on Monday, Mike, in the trendy room during that long-term session, and I can show you real quick how to do it, okay? All right. What else? T-Mobile, no thank you. AT&T, no thank you. Verizon, Disney, none of these are making the list. They are below the daily cloud. I got red candles. These would be more for those long-term trades that I was mentioning. So, no for this week's watch list on these names. All right. Now let's look at XLY, the consumer discretionary sector, which has shown some relative strength. Amazon, Tesla, you know these names. Amazon just beautiful gap up on earnings. Tesla, we were in a TSLL swing trade and made some money, but I exited the position at my first target. But I said that I would be interested in buying a dip again. So I'm going to put Tesla on my watch list here. Home Depot is a big old no unless I was looking for a long term trade because it's below the cloud red candles. Same with Booking. Oh, let's look at good old McDonald's. Nope. No, thank you. And no need to fight it when I'm just talking about swing trades for next week. Same thing with TJ Maxx, Lowe's, Starbucks, O'Reilly, Nike, and Chipotle. All right. So, really, the real strength in this sector is these two main names. Let's go take a look just for out of curiosity because I sincerely don't know, but I'm going to show you why that sector could be showing relative strength, yet uh, 90% of the top weighted names in it are looking like Dookie. Let's go see what percentage, 43% of the sector is made up of Amazon and Tesla. That's why this name can be showing up as, or this sector can be showing up for relative strength, yet all of these names look like Dookie. Well, I don't know about the ones down here, but most of these names look like Dookie. But Amazon and Tesla makes up 43% of that sector. So hopefully you learned something there. That's pretty cool. All right. So now that I have covered or gotten the two names that I need off out of this sector, I want to take a look at oil services. You remember it has really been showing some strength. Is there anything on this list that I could potentially put on my watch list for this week? Schlumberger here, nice move from back at the beginning of this month back up here. It is at immediate resistance. This blue dotted line is the daily 200. I really don't want to swing trade something that is trading below its daily 200 here. It would need a pretty significant pullback for me to be interested. Baker Hughes is looking nice here, though. I'm going to add BKR just so I can have some names to watch in this sector. That's looking good. Halliburton is actually a name that I have in my long term account. But Halliburton is showing relative strength here. It's above the daily cloud with green candles. I'm going to add Halliburton. What else? FTI doesn't have enough liquidity, really. You want to stick with, or I prefer to trade the names with a lot of liquidity. So your well known names like these top three here. But Schlumberger, I'm going to go ahead and add it, but I would potentially trade this for momentum above that 200 rather than unless it were to dip all the way back into this buy zone down here. Um, so I'm going to add it and I got the top 3 weighted names, almost always when looking at these sectors, your top 3 weighted names are gonna be liquid enough for me to be interested in trading. So, I'm gonna leave the rest of these down here, alone for now because oil services isn't something that I'm just chomping at the bit to be in for swing trades like what I am for tech and semiconductors. All right, to round this out, let me just look and see. All right, XLU is the other sector that I want to take a look at. XLU is relatively strong across most of the time frames except for this last week. Well, I need to see a little bit of weakness in order for me to want to trade these names. So if I look at NEE, this is my favorite of the utility sector to trade. And I can look to the left and see the candlestick structure and see where that buy zone would be for me. It's kind of at the bottom of this daily cloud. We expect chop inside of this cloud. So, what I would do if I'm expecting some potential choppy conditions once price gets to this buy zone down here, what I'll do is I'll buy extra time. So maybe rather than buying the November monthly expiring options, I would buy December's options. That gives me more time, so less that theta decay in the beginning. Right? The theta decay really increases the closer you get to expiration. So, giving myself only 3 weeks for the November expiration, I could get ate up in theta decay. But if I give myself an extra month, then that theta decay curve is not as dramatic. Hopefully that makes sense. So NEE, I'm going to add to my list as a potential play for the utilities sector. CEG, this one's expensive to trade, I believe, as I recall. But let's go take a look at the option chain. Type in CEG. Yeah, look, not affordable for my account. So that's a big no for me. Okay. Southern, it was on my list, I believe, last week, but it's gotten below the daily cloud now. So the only way this would be on my list would be for a longer term swing trade, not what I'm looking for. Duke, same thing. Let's look at VST, same thing. So that's a big nope. AEP, that one looks good. I want to go to the options chain though, and I want to check first price, next liquidity. All right, liquidity. I like these to be 1,000 or more. I'll trade them at 500 or more, but I prefer 1,000. Looking out into November, I got the liquidity. It's affordable for my account. I like to buy at the money, so it's affordable for my account. Let me check the December expirations just in case I want to buy some extra time. The 125s is actually the strike that I would have to choose simply because it has the liquidity that I'm looking for, and the price allows me to buy a couple of contracts. All right, so AEP can make my list for this utilities sector. Now let's go back to the chart. Y'all following along, you have any questions about what I'm doing or anything seem like I don't understand why you're doing that? Put it in the chat. I want this to be interactive. Claudia, great question. The minimum liquidity I look for is 500 or more. Now, that can be different, Claudia, if I'm day trading XSP, day trading. Um, it's going to show very small open interest, but you can get in and out of them. So that's different. But if you're talking about swing trades, I'm looking for at least 500 open interest, and I would really prefer 1,000 or more. All right. Then the other name on the utilities that qualifies to make my watch list is XEL. All right. So let's put that on there. All right. So now that I have utilities done, I can move into gold miners and metals and mining. Now they have pulled back. They've showed some weakness from those smaller time frame look backs, but I need that weakness for my pullback buys, right? So here's an interesting idea as well. You don't have to necessarily trade the names within the sector. Some sectors have enough liquidity that you can just trade the overall sector. So when I would do that is when a majority of these names within this sector are showing green candles and at or above their daily cloud. That's not the case with GDX right now. So, no, I'm not going to necessarily trade just the sector itself. And actually, if I'm looking here, guys, AEM is still inside the cloud. It's I'm gonna put AEM on here because it's inside the cloud, but it is right at this upper weekly edge and inside and down candlestick structure. And when it pulls back, it's going to be below that cloud. So it's really not something that I'm eager. Yeah, I'm going to remove it because I already know it's not going to make my top 6 to 8. Because do you understand what I'm saying? Let me zoom in here. If I'm looking to buy it back here, notice it would be below that EMA cloud. Not in the cloud, the EMAs are resistance until proven otherwise. So, from a risk to reward perspective, that's not going to be good. Yeah, Claudia, I would like to see price above the daily cloud or at least inside of the daily cloud. All right, but look at Barrick Gold over here. This could give me a better see the buy zone is inside of the cloud. You see it? The inside and up candlestick structure. This is my buy zone down in here. That would be inside of the cloud if I get a pullback there. Here's my reward. The risk isn't going to be that great. So Barrick actually is the best looking name, in my opinion, in this sector right here. Okay. Yeah. Yep. Barrick's actually the only one I would look to trade in gold miners right now. And Barrick has earnings on the 10th of November. All right. XME. Yes, Gary. Gary said he works on Mondays. Gary's a member of the Trendy Room at Simpler. And yes, Gary, there will be a separate recording for that session. Absolutely. Okay, so now let's take a look at XME. This is metals and mining. And I'm going to pull up ETFDB just to see this is a sector that these can change quite a bit from week to week. So let me just make sure that the names I have on here are um, correct. So I wish there was a way. Let me see if I can't do this. Bye bye, ad. This is a free website. I don't pay for the Okay, here is the top weighted names right now. These do change. Notice that there's no big standout. They're pretty equally weighted, the names inside of this sector. And that means that you can have quite the fluctuation. But my main focus is are these names that are on this holdings, are they on my chart? So, STLD, yep, it's there. Um, Alcoa, AA, let's see. Nope. So I need to put Alcoa on this chart. Um, yes. Alcoa and Nucor I need to add, and the rest of them look good. I'm gonna replace Royal Gold down here with Alcoa or Nucor, and then, CNR, I'm also gonna replace Alcoa, Nucor. Yep. Alright. So Alcoa and Nucor are the two that I'm adding in place of these other names that have fallen. All right. All right. So now, if I take that same criteria, right? Hey, Anna, good to see you. Yeah, you'll want to rewind and watch the whole thing because I'm really going into detail here today. All right, LEU. Let's take a look and see if it meets my criteria to trade. Looking for liquidity and affordability. No. CDE doesn't, it's below the cloud. It's got a lot of resistance right above it. Don't want to mess with that. Alcoa is looking good. It's inside of the cloud. It's right at the lower weekly edge and probably upper yearly edge. Alcoa is looking great for a potential dip buy. Definitely making the list. I like that one. MP was on my list couple of weeks ago. It's fallen off the list because it's fallen off of a cliff from 101 to 50 something dollars. The EMAs of the cloud, Claudia, are 9, 13, 22, and 44. Let's look at uranium here. That one's going to make my list. Here's my buy zone. That would be in the cloud. Uranium's on here. UEC, just like that. Um, HCC, I'm not familiar with enough to know if it has liquidity and affordability for me. Really not. I would have to go out of the money to get the liquidity there and look at how wide these spreads are. I typically am not going to trade something with a spread that wide between the bid and ask. So HCC is a no, not because I don't like the chart, but because the option just isn't liquid enough for me. CLF looks like, oh, yep, it fell down here below the cloud. It has a lot of resistance with an inside and down right there. If I was looking for a longer term trade, CLF would qualify, but not for this watch list. Let's look at Steel Dynamics. That one's going to make the list above the cloud. The buy zone would be inside of the cloud. Yep, Steel Dynamics going to make the list. Yeah, they can be wacky for all day, right, Michelle? But I just prefer to try to keep, especially because you have to consider, or I have to consider that people are following me in these trades. And if you have a really wide bid and ask spread, I might get filled for $100 cheaper than what someone else following me gets filled for. So I'm always keeping in mind those that are in the trendy room that are following my trades. And liquidity is a big thing to to uh, a tighter bid ask spread means that we're all going to get right around the same price. Oh, yeah. After hours, yes. But there wasn't the liquidity there in open interest either. And on some names, the spreads can be really wide after hours for sure. Okay, so now that I've finished XME, I have done the main sectors that are showing strength here. XLI over the last 5 days made the top. I'll just take a look and see if there's anything in that sector that's standing out for a buy. GE, it's expensive for me to trade from a small account, but it's a good looking chart. Just not affordable for me. Let me go to the 21st and I'll show you. I like to buy out the money, and those are going for, $1,000 a contract. So just not affordable for me, but I like the chart itself. Your buy zone would be down here near this lower weekly edge, right at this inside and up candlestick structure. Raytheon RTX. Whoopsie daisy. No, no. Nice looking chart. You're in chop. I'm gonna avoid that one. Caterpillar, way too expensive for me to trade. Uber, I don't like the candlestick colors, and you got earnings on Tuesday. So probably not there. BA fell off of a cliff, but for a long-term trade, look right here at the daily 200. Someone that's in the trendy room remind me to take a look at BA for a long-term trade on Monday, okay? And yes, Claudia, I will look at SoFi for you. Uh, ETN is not doesn't meet my liquidity and affordability. Hold on. All right. Sorry about that, guys. Let's look at Honeywell. Maybe. No, maybe not. I'm going to throw Honeywell on this list just so that I look at it, and then we'll see. It could get moved off right away. You and know John Deere's too expensive for me to trade. It's below the daily cloud though. Yep. No, nothing really standing out. Possibly Honeywell. RTX is very choppy. Let's look though, just to see. It's affordable. It's got the liquidity. I'll put it on the list. Just probably won't make the top 6 to 8. All right. So, any questions about that process? I have built a watch list from Alcoa to Excel Energy down here. And out of this list of names, I don't know how many there are, 20 to 30. I'm going to narrow this down now to the top 6 to 8. All right. So now let me go to regular charts. And some of these drawings are going to be old, guys, because I haven't looked at these names in a very long time. So, from a top down approach on Alcoa, I want to start with that weekly chart. I want to get an idea of where the weekly buy and sell zones are at. I mainly trade from daily buy and sell zones for my swing trades. Sometimes, though, I will trade from weekly buy or sell zones and 4 hour buy and sell zones. So, right up here, we have a bunch of inside candles and then a down candle right here. So, this is the weekly sell zone. And I like to make the cell zones red for the most part. Most of the time, my cell zones will be red. I'm using candlestick structure to find that cell zone. If you don't know how to find the cell zone, join us in the trendy room or watch. I have a video on YouTube that you can watch to learn how to identify inside candles. All these candles close within the body of that one. You do have a down candle right there. So this is another area of resistance. Okay. Then let's look for the buy zone on the weekly. This time I'm looking for the inside and up candlestick structure. Using this as the initial candle. This candle here, because it is a filled candle, it means the close is at the bottom. Hollow candles mean the close is at the top. So this candle closed within the body of this initial candle, as did this candle. So this is what we call a double inside and then up. All right. So I'm going to take the body of my up candle and the lowest point of these four candles, and that's going to create my buy zone. Now, if you look further to the left, you will see that you have another buy zone right here. All right. I'm just going to use this one because that gives me a risk that I am comfortable with trading. All right. And that's the most important part. You got to consider risk to reward. This thing might not make my top 6 to 8 because the risk to reward isn't there. But for now, these are my weekly buy and sell zones. Remember, this one is also a sell zone. Now I'm going to go down to the daily chart and it still has my weekly buy and sell zones there. And I did that on purpose just to see if I have a sell zone closer than what that weekly sell zone is. And if you notice, this being your initial candle, you have many candles that close inside that body, and then you have a down candle right here. I'm not going to use the body of this down candle right here. I'm going to use the close of the candle before you had a gap down. All right. So on Alcoa on the daily chart, this is a trade that I'd look to be in for 2 to 4 weeks. Okay. Possibly even 8 weeks. But you have a sell zone up here at 38.91 by 41.55, and your buy zone is 33.58 by 30.71. This is going to be about 3 cents of risk. And if price comes down into here, that would be about $5 of reward. So, not a bad risk to reward, but notice that if price comes down into this buy zone, you are going, or the price would be below the EMA cloud, and that would be the immediate resistance there. You also have, if price were to fall down here, you have these trendy edges, a double stack of them. So, what this is telling me is hey, take a look at the 4 hour chart, and maybe this Alcoa trade is a trade that you only want to be in for a week or two. So, now I'm going to go to that 4 hour chart and see if I have a nice looking candlestick structure right in this area. And do you see right here? You see that big, powerful candle? This is what we call an imbalance candle. A big block of buyers stepped in to push that price. Well, what we're trying to capitalize on is uh, are there still block orders down in this area of buyers stepping in? I don't have the inside and up candlestick structure on the 4 hour. I can bring it down to a 2 hour and see if that gives me the inside and up candlestick structure, and it does. And ironically, right at this area that I already have on the chart, the bottom of this structure is going to be right here. All right. That gives me a much tighter risk. But again, this is a trade that if I'm trading out of this zone, I'm only looking to be in it for this target. And that would be approximately a week. See this upper yellow edge here? That's an upper weekly edge. This is the lower weekly edge. So this trade on Alcoa would look like this. Yeah, I am, Gary, because it's not one that I normally chart. So, yes. But this is what the trade would look like on Alcoa here. A dip buy into this zone or on strength on Monday, if price can push up and above, let's say 36.94, it would be a momentum play from 36.94 targeting 38.91, 40.31 and 41.55. All right. So that is what I am seeing on Alcoa. It doesn't have the cleanest, nicest, most beautiful setup for me, but nonetheless, the risk to reward would be there. Even if I take the trade from, let's say, 37, you got less than $1.50 of risk. You got about a dollar 16 of risk right here, and the reward is $2. So that is a risk to reward. What are all those green arrows in the lower green band? Yeah, so this is a part of trendy indicators, Michelle, and this is used for what we call an ACDC trade. And we're actually, since we're on November 1st, we're going to get new ACDC setups this month for November. At the end of October, we really stop playing that strategy for the most part because you're going to get new arrows. Come Monday, Tuesday, you're going to see new arrows here. All right, that will be for November ACDC setups. So again, remind me in the room, and we will talk about this specifically. Okay. All right. Up next, let's take a look at Apple. Apple trades within the tech sector. We know that thing is strong. Look at the Apple chart. Your weekly buy zone is all the way down here at 252 to 244. Yes, Gary, always. I that will never change. Stop for me is a candle close. Never that won't change. I've been doing that now for 3.5 years. And when I first started, I journaled it. I had it on a spreadsheet, very detailed about effects to P&L, and it just works out in my favor to commit to candle closes and trade with an allocation amount that if it were to go to zero, doesn't happen much for me, but if it were, then I'm not going to wreck my account or my emotions. All right. Apple buy zone on the daily here at 269 by 264. That's about $5 of risk, a little less than $5 of risk. You're looking at a reward. You're going to have your upper weekly edge right in here at 275.83. You're going to have your upper monthly edge at 273.49. That's going to give you a risk to reward. How I would trade it would be to wait for higher lows in this zone followed by a breakout candle on a smaller time frame. So I'm going to say my risk is going to be somewhere around $4 and my initial reward would be somewhere around $5 to $6. So the risk to reward would be there on Apple. Let's look at the 4 hour chart because I might just want to trade the 4 hour zone. All right. Let me move this line up to the lower weekly edge. And let me move a line for a stop down to this wick. It's going to give me $4.30 of risk playing this zone right here. And then the reward is going to be here, right? Inside and down candlestick structure right here. But that is I'm going to use that upper weekly edge because a 4 hour chart, I'm typically in the trade for the week. All right. So now to consider risk to reward, again, $4.30 of risk and reward is going to be about $6, $6.50. So the risk to reward is there. I'm gonna go ahead and jot Apple down on my sticky note. They fell on the floor, so let me get them. For those of you that I told my secret to, see. I really need it today, though. It's cold here. All right. Apple is going to go on my list. I know that Apple has already had earnings. I don't have to mess around with that. So Apple makes the list. All right. AEP. Let's take a look. This isn't a name. I actually have weekly, daily, and all of that drawings on this one. But it's not a name that I trade a lot or chart a lot. So let me update. Boy, that's a nice looking weekly buy zone right there. I see right here. See it? Hey, I saw someone said my nickname should be Linus. I thought that was pretty funny. All right, here's your buy zone right here on the weekly. Let's look at a daily. Let me check earnings just to make sure. Yep, they just reported a couple days ago, so we're good there. Let me check that daily. This definitely is old. Boom, boom, there. All right, no inside and up here. Big old gap. Probably on earnings, right? Your daily buy zone looks like it's going to be about the weekly buy zone. You have two zones back to back right here. I'll mark them both. Uh, Usually, if you have zones back to back, I combine them as long as it doesn't make the risk too much meaning more than I'm comfortable with. This is about $3.50 of risk, and I am comfortable sitting through that $3.50 pullback. So that's going to be the daily buy zone. Um, this is a gap up. If we measure from where the candle closed up to the high, uh, a potential area to trade here would be this golden profit area. And I'm going to make it wider to include that center EMA there. All right. Remove. And this would be a potential Fibonacci entry. Also, the daily EMA is lining up there. So this is another potential entry here on AEP. Now let's look at the 4 hour chart. I'm going to mark this upper weekly and the November upper monthly. And on a 4-hour chart, this would be my target to the upside. And this would be a trade I'm looking to play out in a week. Okay. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to measure this big imbalance candle right here to the high. And I'm going to find this 50 and I'm going to go just below the 618. I like this zone for a trade on AEP for a weekly trade. Now, this would not be trading a lower weekly edge to upper weekly edge. This is based on the strength that was shown here on the earnings report, I believe, um, trading this. What I don't like about trading this zone is that it was tested right here. All right. So, but $1.24 of risk and reward is $3. So that's a good risk to reward. If I get a pullback buy there, I'm going to put AEP on my scratch pad because it is a small risk to reward. If this zone breaks and I take my loss, but I still was interested in trading AEP, then I would have to wait for a larger pullback there. Okay. All right. Let's look at AMD. First off, note to self. AMD reports earnings on Tuesday. No starting a swing trade for Melissa on Monday. Now, if I wanted to play an earnings play, I could do that, but that's different than a swing trade play for me. Okay. So my buy zone on AMD would be down here at 238.46 to 224.88, and this would be my sell zone. So after earnings come out, does it come down to this zone? It would be a potential buy the dip. On the daily chart, you also have an inside and up right here. That's at 235. This is 238, so I could put 235 inside this zone or just below it, telling me that I got some daily support there. Okay, that's the inside and up. All right. So AMD, while it might not make my top ones to focus on this week, I do want an alert here at this zone letting me know that it is at 4-hour demand or a 4-hour buy zone. Okay. All right. Amazon. Amazon has reported. I don't have to worry about that. Let's look at it from a top down approach. The weekly chart, beautiful weekly candle. This was an inside and up way back here in August. You wick just below it. Glad I don't get wicked out on candles, but you wick down just below the bottom of this zone, but up she went right there. Um, it I'm focused on daily clouds, right, Claudia? And I know that all of these names were either inside the cloud or above it. So I don't have to worry about that right now. If you're talking about those lower time frames, um, I know that my list, these names are either above or inside of the cloud. Okay. Or they wouldn't be on here. Does that make sense, Claudia? You're probably referring to a 2-hour or 4-hour chart. If I'm talking about clouds, I am focused on that daily cloud. Does that make sense, Claudia? All right, let's look at the daily chart on Amazon. And I have fibs drawn here from where it closed only on the weekly. I'm not sure which one. You're saying one of these, it was below the daily cloud? These are the only ones I've done so far. They're all above the daily cloud. Yep. And Alcoa would be is inside. So, which one was I on? Amazon. Okay. All right. I have fibs drawn from where Amazon closed on the 30th to the high. Um, Here's an important level for Amazon. I'm going to go ahead and create an alert there at the golden profit area. All right. Then let's go and look at the 4 hour, see if we have any candlestick structure there. We do not. Um, no candlestick structure there. You're definitely seeing, the result of yesterday being a weaker day, even though we ended up green, I believe. We closed green. Still, we had gapped up quite a bit, about 50 points or so, and then we sold off from there. Amazon felt that effect just measuring this big imbalance candle. This would be the golden profit area for a trade for a week. It is above this move, this measurement on the daily, but I'm going to focus on this daily um, for now. All right. If you're looking for a trade less than that, you could go here and look to buy this golden profit area 239 to 235. That would give you about $4 of risk, and your reward is going to come here at these stacks. So your reward would be about $7. Okay, initial first reward would be about 7. So you'd look into risk 4 to make 7 there. All right. So either one of those trades look good, and Amazon's going to go on my potential focus. Okay. Broadcom reports earnings all the way in December. You got plenty of time on Broadcom. I believe Broadcom has a leveraged ETF. Let me just look. Yeah, here's your Broadcom leveraged ETF. So I can play this for a swing trade. So let me go ahead and look at that Broadcom chart again. All right, starting with this weekly. Oh, I was like, why do I have no drawings? Because you got off of this. All right, let's look at this weekly here. Very nice looking chart. Beautiful rounding bottom at the weekly EMA cloud and a new all-time high this week. Looks good. You did create inside and down candlestick structure. Here's your inside and down candlestick structure. This is a reward to the upside. As far as a dip buy goes, yes, AVL Skip is the leveraged ETF for AVGO. Skip, are you in the trendy room at Simpler? This year buy zone on the daily chart here for AVGO. Then the 4 hour chart, this is your buy zone. You are not. Okay. Sorry. In the trendy room, I share these charts and with my complete plan, and I will put in the note that I would be trading AVL rather than AVGO, but I would use that AVGO chart. Okay, Skip? And yeah, we definitely invite you to join us in the trendy room. We have some specials going on right now because we're doing a promotion and focusing on 30 days of discipline and consistency and learning. So check it out. I There should be a link in the description. All right. Okay. AVGO on a 4-hour time frame. You have inside and down candlestick structure right here. This, my friends, for a Broadcom trade for a week, this is going to be my target. Okay. You're welcome. My pleasure. All right. This is my target. This is where I'm wanting to buy. This is my target. So let's consider risk to reward. It's super duper important. All right. You got a risk of about $4.50 reward. Definitely more than that all the way to first target. But I personally, when I'm trading, I'm going to draw some fibs from where this down move began to my buy zone here. And I'm going to tell you right now that for me, yes, this is the target for a trade I want to be in for a week, but I'm going to take some profits at the top of this bear channel if price gets down here. Okay. And then I need to look at that reward. So again, we have about $4.50 of risk, and the reward is 9. So still a good trade. All right. I like that chart, and that will be on my list. Okay. And I will trade the leveraged ETF AVL, but I will use this chart to trade it. What I will do is just buy at the money calls. If AVGO pulls down here, I, in my small account, am going to buy AVL at the money calls here. I will have an alert here at the stop, and if I get a 4-hour candle close below my stop, I will stop out of my AVL position. If I do not, I stay in the position. I'll have an alert right here. If that alert goes off when AVGO hits 372.14, I will trim my AVL position at that level. Okay, and that's how you use an AVGO chart. But if you have a small account, you can trade the leveraged ETF using the main chart. Okay. That's AVGO. Now let's look at Barrick. I believe Barrick, no, one other name might have made my list from this sector. So let's really take a look at Barrick. I will go ahead and create a drawing set for the week. Oh, I spelled that wrong. That's okay. All right. For Barrick, number one, I need to make sure I am looking at since the inception of Barrick entering the stock market. Okay. Notice that when I look back more than 3 years, there's candlestick structure. I got to go way back, guys, way back. So what I'll do is I'll put a line up here where we peaked, and then I edit it. I turn on the left extension like that. Boom. And I'm looking for candlestick structure above here. Oh, wow. You see it? Inside and down, right there. Huge, big. All right. That's that zone that we came up to. That's from 2012. We get asked how long these zones are relevant. Well, they're relevant until price breaks and closes, in this case, above them. But look, from 2012, price, that's 13 years ago, guys. Nothing, 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 no, nothing. But look, 13 years later, it sold off from there. That's crazy, right? That's crazy. The market has a memory, guys, and it remembered that sellers were waiting right here from 13 years ago. All right, so Barrick, that's the immediate resistance there. As far as a weekly buy zone, it's all the way back here, inside and up candlestick structure, all the way back here. All right. From a daily chart, and this is probably old, so bear with. No, it isn't. It's still relevant. Okay. Remove and remove. All right. You have insides and up, and your up came right there, but it's very choppy. Very, very, very choppy. I'm liking this buy right here, just with the relative weakness in gold. I'm liking a buy right in here and using, I'm going to, let me clear this off completely. All right. See this chop where price chopped at? You had inside, inside, and then up right here. This is a zone I want to use for Barrick to buy a dip. Okay. What is also lining up there is the bottom of that daily cloud. Okay. The cloud itself is support until proven otherwise. Proven otherwise means a daily, in this case, close below the cloud. All right. But I know that I have candlestick structure here at 31.26 to 30.35. So that's about $1 of risk. Then my first target is right up here at the upper weekly edge, the daily 21, all of this. That's my first target. So about a little less than $1, 91 cents of risk, and my reward is $1.60. Okay, so that meets my risk to reward. Then I have this inside and a gap down. So my ultimate target, just going to use this topping high here. Okay, my ultimate target is going to be here, which that's where the upper monthly edge is. Okay, but the first target is 32.86. All right, there is Barrick, and I'm going to write it down on my list because I do want some sort of gold exposure. On B, would I explain why these two or these three? Yeah. All right, let's just take a look at it. Okay, this is your initial candle. The body is here. Let me color it gray. The body of the initial candle, meaning the open to the close, is right here. These three candles, Michelle, closed within this gray box or the body of that initial candle. Inside, right? This a hollow candle. These, the this wouldn't be three insides. Remove. Okay? You talking about this inside and then up candlestick structure there? Okay. So here is the initial candle. Let me color this one gray, and I'll show you how those two candles close inside of it. You see this one right here? The close is right here. It's inside that body. That one closed inside that body, and that one did not. It closed above it. Does that make sense, Michelle? You're welcome. You're welcome. All right, so that's my plan on Barrick. Now let's go down to Baker Hughes. All right. I do love New York, FYI, guys. Love it. My daughter lives there. And I love to go visit, but I couldn't live there. It's too cold. All right, let's look at Barrett or Baker Hughes. Let me see if I have any drawings and how old they are. Yep, yep, yep. Made it above this supply zone or this sell zone. Notice the first test. We always talk about first test or best. There, that's why. Okay, you'll see it. It's broken because this candle closed above it. So it's gone. We got a new sell zone right here. And that is exactly where Barrick is at. That means no buying Barrick for Melissa without a pullback because this weekly chart, regardless of what the daily chart looks like, this weekly chart is telling me that Barrick is right back at resistance, right back at this weekly supply or sell zone. Here's your inside and up. Okay. So that's my buy zone on this weekly. Let me remove these. These are old. And then I still have that buy zone down below as well. Are we buy earnings? Yes. Okay, we're good. All right. So on the weekly 45 to 43, let's look at the daily. I'm just going to clear this. 45 to 43 is my weekly buy zone. Going to look and see, do I have anything before that? Here's an initial candle, the inside and up, the lowest point. Anna. Uh, it's just too cold. I absolutely love New York. It's a beautiful state. Not just New York City, which New York City is a lot of fun, but the state itself is absolutely beautiful. It's just too dadgum cold for me. All right, here's the buy zone 45 to 44. Yeah, looks familiar, doesn't it? All right. So that's the daily buy zone. There's actually no inside and down on the daily for a sell zone. All right, now let's look at the 4 hour. Here is a nice inside and up candlestick structure right here. See how well that lines up with my lower weekly edge? I can simply not even manually draw this. I could click on, well, this cloud isn't going to, or right now, because this is next week's lower weekly edge, it's not going to show me the width of it. But if you have the trendy indicators, you can turn the cloud on this edges and it will give you that range for your risk. It's not going to do it on this future weekly edge until Monday, but you can see how last week's edge would have looked. And it's going to give you a risk of about, looks like 60 or 70 cents there. So, just FYI, you don't have to manually draw these. If you have the trendy indicators identifying the buy and sell zones, you can just use them. For now, I'm just going to use this past edge and that's going to give me the buy zone on the 4 hour right here based on that nice imbalanced candle and inside and up candlestick structure right there. All right. Uh, Here's your sell zone, and not surprised. We have tested it. Here's your initial candle, and you had a couple closes inside. This is where the down move began. That's why I set it there, and it lines up with my upper weekly edge. Okay. Then I take the highest point there, and this gives me the sell zone. Boy, guys, I'm usually done by now, but I wanted to be very detailed because we had so many people joining that are new. I really wanted to give you the full Monty as far as how I build my watch list. So, if if you're getting bored or anything like that, feel free to hop off. If you're a member of the Trendy Room, my charts, my focus charts are going to be in the notes section. But if you're enjoying it and want to stick around, stick around. I just don't want to make you feel like you have to stay. I'm just trying to be very, very detailed this week. Next week will be different. All right. All right. So this is my buy zone. This is my sell zone. I have a risk of about, what's that, 80 cents there, I believe, 90 cents. No, oh gosh, can't even do math. 73 cents. All right. And my reward is about $2, $2.50. Very nice risk to reward here. All right. I like that. BKR. And it gives me some things to watch besides just tech and semiconductors. All right. Salesforce looks like they have earnings. Let's see when they have earnings. Thank you, Harry. All right. Let's see when Salesforce has earnings. It looks like it's far away. Oh, yeah. December. Whew, this thing's been a train wreck, hasn't it? Whew. On the year, man. Lower yearly edge buy, though. Ooh. All right. Boy, I haven't looked at Salesforce in a hot minute. Okay. Yep. But you definitely got a sell zone right here, my friends. Right here. And this looks like the high. So I'm not liking the risk to reward to be a buyer right here. I'm not going to buy calls right here. I'm a dip buyer. I'm not a momentum swing trader, okay? But not saying you can't be. If you are, then you take the break above that sell zone. There's another target for you. But me personally, I'm going to wait for a dip, and that dip's going to be at 245 on this weekly chart. 245. All right. There's an inside and up right there. That's why I extended that. All right. Here's the sell zone. Let's step it down to a daily. I love trading off the daily charts for these swing trades. I must have charted this for somebody because I personally haven't looked at it or looked to trade Salesforce in a while. You're below the daily 200. You do have some room to run there. Hey, my simpler family that likes trading John Carter's Squeeze Pro, this thing's in a beautiful squeeze. Here's your first target. 276 looks like the second target. Oh, that's why. You got inside gap down right here. So let's make this a zone. You got a zone above there too. You got quite a bit of resistance here. but I'm going to use this zone as the target for a trade setup that I'd be looking at this week. But I know that daily 200 is right there, and that, my friends, will more than likely be resistance. Okay, I also have some trendy edges that are resistance. This monthly edge and this upper weekly edge resistance. Okay, so here are my levels to trim at resistance or move my stops. Here would be my target. As far as the daily chart and buying the dip, this zone looks like it's still in place. Boy, it was created way back in April. You have a wick below here, but no close, so the zone's still valid. Okay. All right. So this is a daily chart. Let's look at the 4 hour on Salesforce. Let me see what we got here. That's definitely old for sure. It worked until it didn't, and it definitely broke down. Woo, look at all that chop. Bottom of chop. Price is right at resistance. We already knew that, but 4 hour, my target would be 260, 290 by 267.13. Okay, let me look, Claudia. I'll tell you what I usually do when that's the case, Claudia. You're right, it would be. So I would have a target right in here, wherever that cloud happens to be. So you'd have about $10 to 10, a one for one there at the cloud resistance. Okay. Or I go to a 4 hour and I look for a higher zone to trade. Does that make sense? A earlier zone that in this case, it's right here at this lower weekly edge. Okay. Right in here, just using the lower weekly edge like that. And then again, I'm going to use the past edge again, like I did on another name, just because I'm trying to speed it up a little bit here because my grandkids will be showing up soon. They spend every Saturday night with us. We take them to church on Sunday, and then we watch football all day here. So, all right. So, this, let's see, Claudia, if I look to buy a dip at 250 and a half, let's see on the daily where that puts me on the cloud in it. You see? Yeah. If I'm trading, so in this case, Claudia, I would choose to trade off this 4 hour zone. Okay. And this 4 hour zone on a daily chart, let me change it to a daily. I'll show you where this zone sets up. See the bottom of the cloud? I'm counting on the bottom of that cloud to be support, and this is my buy zone. Okay. Make sense? All right. All right, target, upper weekly edge. I gotta go back to a 4 hour chart because this setup would be on this 4 hour chart. There's your upper weekly edge target. Here's your buy zone. It would be, I'm just going to call it $4 of risk. You got a lot more than $4 of reward. But keep in mind, if we get a dip buy here, you're going to have a pullback from the you. We would have to have a pullback from this area. So if I just run hypothetical fibs here and I mark this bearish golden pocket, I need to be realistic, right? I got $4 of risk, a little less than four, $3.50 of risk, and almost $5 to this first Fibonacci level, then this target and this target. Okay. Claudia, did I answer your question regarding the daily? And so I wouldn't trade out of that daily zone. I would trade out of this 4 hour zone and shorten my time frame as far as expiration. If I'm trading off of a daily, I'm probably choosing December's expiration. If I'm trading off of the 4 hour, I'm choosing November expiration, and I have quicker trims. Okay. So this 4 hour zone to trade out of on the daily cloud is buying the support that I'm looking for at the bottom of the cloud. Okay. All right. Let's move on from Salesforce. I need to pick up the pace a little, guys. So I think I've went into great detail about how I do this. Cisco was another name on my list. I am going to write CRM down in the event that it makes the top 6 to 8. All right, Cisco. Cisco reports earnings. It's a little close to earnings time. It's going to be like 9 days out. Beautiful rounding bottom right here. Here you have inside and up right there. That's gorgeous. But Cisco's not going to make my list just because earnings, and I don't want to get caught in a trade that doesn't move anywhere and theta eats me up. So I'm going to not plan on Cisco being one of the top 6 to 8. I'm going to go on to Google though. If a turn on the edge clouds, I do not need to draw them manually. No, I mean, you don't need to draw the zones manually. If you have the indicators, Ivan, I don't know if you do or not, but if you have the indicators, turn the clouds on. Let's do these monthly edges. Okay. And turn them to yes. And we're going to pay attention to this lower monthly edge down in here. So this, where's the bottom? Right here. All right. Right here. All right. So this would have been your zone right here in here. Just turning the cloud on and boom, up above the lower monthly edge, the upper monthly edge became the target. And so it's drawn for you. Okay. Cloud, no. I will say though, if you use those clouds, just go ahead and keep looking left though, and make sure that the cloud is wide enough. If you have a bottoming wick or something really close to the bottom of the cloud, I would increase my risk rather than getting stopped out on a wick. Okay. There's the weekly on Google. The daily on Google, inside and up. 267.75 is going to be my zone to trade off of for Google. And I got confluence there of the daily cloud, the lower weekly edge, and inside and up candlestick structure. I've got about $3.50 of risk right there. My upper monthly edge, upper weekly edge, and all time high is going to be my targets. And that's going to be a great risk to reward. Now, realistically, again, if you get a big pullback like this, I'm going to be taking some profits before those edges. Okay. So now I look at it And is it at least a 1 for 1? Yes, for sure. It's better than a 2 for 1. So this is a nice looking buy the dip opportunity for me here on Google. All right. So that's what Google's going to look like. Let's look at Halliburton. Nice trim on Halliburton right here at the lower yearly edge. If it can reclaim this, I'm looking for these levels. Okay. But let's go to a weekly chart. Hey, finally, this weekly sell zone or the weekly supply, this time price broke above it, so I can remove that now. All right. Now look up and to the left and you see the inside and down. Well, that was already that zone. Here is the next one. Inside, this candle closed inside the body, and that was definitely a down candle. So for the next target, I'm going to use this down candle and the yearly edge mid on Halliburton. Darren, the green and red arrows are not um they're not solely based on inside and up and inside and down. There's many other factors to those buy and sell arrows. So, yes. Um, they often you will see the inside and up or inside and down candlestick structure, but not always. There's other factors to them, Darren. Oh, DMC. Does that make sense? DMC? Sorry, I'm used to calling you DMC, so yep. So you won't always see them at an inside and up and inside and down DMC, but they often are there. But there's other factors that have to line up in order for the buy and sell arrows to print. Okay? Here's a beautiful inside and up on Halliburton right here. 2230 by 2146. Oh, that's funny. Run DMC. Y'all remember that band? All right. Daily. I have no idea if I have this. All right. We got a candle close above. That means this zone I'm going to remove off of here. But look, good old Halliburton needs to reclaim this lower yearly edge. And really, it would need to reclaim that or get above that upper weekly edge. So that would be the momentum play above 27.49. Now, I need to look up and to the left of here to find the sell zone here on the daily. You see the inside and down candlestick structure. That's going to give me the next sell zone on Halliburton here. No, sell zones are red, Melissa. Good job. Good job, kid. All right. So if you play this as a momentum play, it would be above 27.49 and you're targeting 29 to 30 and a half. If you wait for a dip buy, this is a beautiful buy zone down here, or you can use fibs from where this rally began up to what the world? Up to the high and look for the Golden Pocket or the Bull Channel. I personally, just the weakness that this name has shown, would be more conservative with my entry and wait for the Golden Pocket there. Okay. So the trade, if you don't wait for the buy zone, would be to go long here. You got about 70 cents of risk, and then your targets is going to be about $2. And there's the targets like that. Okay. So that's Halliburton. Honeywell, this is one I wanted. What in the world? Does anybody know why my Honeywell chart would look like this? Did Honeywell split off? Something is way wrong. I don't know. I'm just going to remove that. No need to try to figure that out. All right, IBM. Something Honeywell must have did something where they changed their ticker name, they split their company up like GE did or something. All right, IBM, your major buy zone on the weekly is 281 to 263. On the daily, your daily buy zone is 285 to 263. Here's the bull channel on IBM on this very nice move up. Here's your bull channel, 306 to 298. IBM's already reported. Yeah. Yeah. Let's talk about dividends. Does anybody know kind of what you can expect for dividends? When a name is getting ready to report dividends, you can, as an options trader, just look at the dividend amount and you might experience a pullback somewhere at or equal to that dividend amount around that dividend day. Okay? Just FYI, I went a long time without knowing that. All right. There's your weekly, daily. It's right at resistance. It would take a pretty significant pullback in IBM. But here's your 4-hour buy zone down here. Again, you're right at resistance. This isn't going to make my top 6 to 8, but there's the zones. I told you Microsoft is a name that I might consider trading via MSFU. Here's the reason. You see this weekly zone that was created here? 514.61 to 505 04. It's lining up with the weekly EMA here. Also, you have the November lower monthly edge in this zone. Look at the daily chart as well. You're right at the bottom of the daily cloud. I would like to see Microsoft reclaim this lower weekly edge and then play MSFU back up to the upside. Okay. So let me show you kind of what that looks like. Either one of two ways. Either Microsoft can reclaim 519.46, then I'm playing it up to 525.02, 529.36 by 533.81, and eventually back up here to this sell zone. Or I wait for a deeper pullback here on this daily chart, or this is a 4 hour, or I wait for a deeper pullback into this zone and then give myself extra time. Okay. All right. So that trade there will be either a momentum play if we can recover the lower weekly edge, or a longer term, longer dated trade out to December, January, February, trading the leveraged ETF MSFU for me in my small account and trading off of that higher time frame Microsoft chart. Okay. All right. Let's look now at MU. They have earnings. MU, oh no, you reported. When's their earnings? Okay, December. We're good. We good. Weekly. Oh, that's old. Been a while since I charted Micron. Inside, candle, and up. Notice inside and up. Okay. So there's two zones and they would be very wide. Very wide. But I'm going to go ahead and put them on here on this weekly chart. All right. I would say if you're looking to trade it longer term, right? Plenty of time. I would scale in if I was trading from a zone this wide on Micron. It moves $20 a month, and this is higher than that $20, right? So it would be a scale in, and I'd have buy lots of time if I was trading now that weekly buy zone. Michael. All right, let's look at the daily um, on MU. This is an old drawing. It was a time that I was looking to buy a dip, but the dip never came because that alert is still there. So let me remove all this. No idea what I did there. All right. You see the area of consolidation here? When you see this kind of consolidation, my eyes always get drawn to it, and then I look to see, do we have inside and up candlestick structure? And we do. So that's a little hint of how I quickly am assessing for inside and up candlestick structure. All right. There's our buy zone for MU here on the daily. Uh, Swing high there, upper weekly edge there. Here's your lower weekly edge. That's lining up with the 9 EMA. You also have inside and up, but I'm not marking that because it's just chop in there. Lots of chop, actually. Okay, that's why. Thanks, Michelle, for researching that for us about Honeywell. Here's your 4 hour. Probably, nope, I don't even have it. Okay, let's take a look at the 4 hour. Man, honestly, guys, I'm not seeing a lot for me to do with Micron where price is at. Yeah. The reason why is it's such a tight range and my buy zones, I would have to use these higher time frame chart ones down here. Okay, so is it going to drop $24 next week? Probably not. And so I don't want to necessarily take up a 6 to 8 on something that is so far away from my potential entry. So I'm going to skip MU. NEE, this is a potential utilities play here. Let's look at the weekly. And I want to show you this because this area of resistance, this sell zone, this supply zone, has been tested and tested and tested and tested. I remember being in anybody in the trendy room remember being in EE when it made this high up here? I do. We were trading that. And since then, test, reject, test, reject, test, reject, way reject, right? Test, reject, test, and so far it's rejecting, but this has been tested numerous times. Okay. Now let's go to the daily. This is my buy zone for NEE. In the event that we get a pullback to here, though, it would be below this daily cloud, which means 79.58 or thereabouts would be my immediate resistance. And with $2.20 of risk, 79.58 being my reward, that's $1.13. The risk to reward isn't there. So I couldn't trade this daily zone. Let me look on the 4 hour and see if I have a buy zone that is somewhere at or above 79.50. All right. So we need to look down. We need to look to the left. We're looking for inside and up candlestick structure. Going to go right here. Okay, Claudia, I did the same thing on this one that I did on that other name you were talking about. Do you see what I did? Do you understand why I did it? I don't want to trade that daily zone because it would put price right at resistance if I wait for price to fall all the way down to 75. So I come to this 4 hour zone to trade it. Yes. Michelle, also, just the utilities sector in general tends to have a nice ramp from the summer up until that area. It's very interesting, but yes. Here's your cell zone on the 4 hour, the top, right? All right. But let's run some fibs of this down move. Oh, well, I have upper monthly and weekly right here at this 50 anyway. All right. So that's going to be a target. But if price runs all the way down to my buy zone, right, I need to be realistic and know where the top of that bear channel is. And that's a rough estimate because I don't know how deep price will go in there. I will adjust that if I get a pullback in here. All right. So I've got about $3 of risk, a little less than three, actually. It's $2.50 of risk here and about 425 of reward to the first target. So that meets my risk criteria. Now, with NEE, I will wait for confirmation in this buy zone before taking the trade. Okay. Because XLU is showing some weakness here. So NEE, if it makes my focus list, I will definitely be waiting for confirmation in the buy zone before taking the trade. All right, let's look at NVIDIA real quick. Here's the weekly chart of NVIDIA. Beautiful. Beautiful. Inside and up, we created a buy zone in here. These are actually inside, inside, inside. Ooh, a lot of consolidating. Big, powerful move up. Okay. Daily. Yeah. Boy, it'd be quite the pullback. They do have earnings relatively soon. Got a couple of weeks, just over 2 weeks, about 18 days from today. 4 hour. Here's your lower weekly edge down at about 191. NVIDIA is going to have to be a day trading option for me. PLTR, again, they also have earnings coming up. Golly, I think it's Monday. It's Monday or Tuesday, I believe, guys. So this is something I'll be watching after earnings. If we get a dump, then this is my uh, buy zone. You see this beautiful rounding bottom? Here's the bottom of that zone. Thanks, DMC. Yeah, it is Monday, guys, after close. All right. So here's the immediate buy zone on the weekly for Palantir, 179 to 161. Um, Above, obviously, it's blue skies. We have no candlestick structure. On the daily, this is would not surprise me to see price pull back here on an earnings miss, 180 to 169. Wouldn't surprise me. On the 4 hour, 190 to 185, you have a zone. You also have that zone down here at 181 in this case to 169. You can see there is a lot of repeat of that 180, 181 level by 169. Um, and even that falls in this weekly buy zone. So I'm going to put an alert here, and that way I'll know on an earnings miss that Palantir is setting up for a possible swing trade for me. And there is leveraged ETFs to trade Palantir as well. Okay. Um, let's look at RTX. And this is definitely one I haven't charted in a long time since price was at 162. So 181.31. There you go. Here's your inside and up. That's gorgeous, by the way. You also have one right here, though. Now it goes all the way back there, but I don't want to have uh, $20 of risk on RTX. So I'm just going to use this zone right here. That's going to give me $5, $4 of risk. All right, there we are. Nothing to do for a sell zone. Gonna remove this because it well, it worked and it worked and it worked and it worked and then it didn't. Okay. So gonna remove that. I don't even know what that is. That we're going to adjust this to 181.31. Okay. Here's your inside and up. And then you got that gap. So I'm just going to draw this zone as a gap fill. Um, and then the bottom of the zone there. Okay. That's my buy zone on the daily on RTX. All right. All right. And I forget, someone wanted to look at SoFi. Remind me again here at the end that I'm getting close to the bottom here. So remind me again. This is another potential zone trading off of Fibonacci and the center EMA in the cloud um, right in here. There's you another potential buy zone. All right, got to mark that. And that's Fibonacci base. Let's look on the 4 hour if we have candlestick structure there. I have no idea. Okay, inside and up. You see it? Yep, that's just a little below. All right, there. All right, so that would be $3 of risk on this trade. And in the event we get a pullback to this level, you obviously have resist. Here's your inside and down. Okay, I'll go up to that high. So I want to make sure if I trade that Fibonacci level and the 4 hour um, inside and up candlestick structure, I want to make sure that the risk to reward is there. So I've got about $3 of risk, $9, $8 to the ultimate target there. But obviously, if price comes down here, I would have to have down candles. So I'm going to measure that move and this hypothetical because I have no idea, obviously, where price is going to stop in that zone. But this would be again $3 of risk here, 5 or 4, sorry, reward for that conservative trim there. And then there's my ultimate target. So that's RTX. Let's look at Schlumberger. Yeah, it's feeling long to me, guys. I'm really struggling here. I feel like we've covered a lot. I've covered a lot, given you a really good idea of how I build the watch list. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take all these names, I'm going to narrow it down to 6 to 8. If you're a member of the Trendy Room, you're going to get to see these charts, these plans in extreme detail. If you're not a member of the Trendy Room, click on the link in the description of this live and you can join us. We're doing a 30-day challenge right now. I had a request for SoFi, so I'm going to do SoFi from a top down approach here. I'm going to clear the drawing set. And I don't remember who asked for SoFi. Who asked me for SoFi if you're still here? Amen, Anna. All right. Here's your SoFi weekly buy zone 2720 by 2484. I love the lineup there at the 9 EMA. That's what I thought, Claudia. And I'm glad you're still around. Thanks for sticking it out over 2 hours with me. Guys, these sessions usually aren't that long. Again, just trying to give a lot of detail with so many new people joining us today. All right. I like this buy zone on SoFi for the 9 EMA, the inside and up candlestick structure. The lower monthly edge is inside of here. This zone I like on the weekly chart. Now let's take a look at the daily chart. Thank you, Claudia. That's thanks, Mike. Yeah, Trendy John, absolutely. Those of you not in the Trendy Room, that's my trading partner, and we definitely like to teach. You have an inside and up candlestick structure here, Claudia, on the daily. I'm just going to mark this if it were to be a gap fill. You could start a position a little bit before that very nice buy zone there. If I were going to do that, I would go with real small risk right here. There. Okay. This is the buy zone. Here is the lower monthly edge. I would scale into this type of position if I were you, Claudia. You have no supply, no sell zone up here because this isn't an inside and down. We do have an upper monthly edge here at 3168, upper weekly edge right in the middle of that upper monthly edge and this high here at 3257. This is looking like a good target for a trade that you intend to be in for a week. All right. Now let me go to the 4 hour. All right. Yeah, it's just all the same. You do have a 4 hour inside and down. So if you're looking for a closer target to trim, Claudia, 3064 is a inside and down candlestick structure. So looks like this would be my trade. Um, Again, this is my favorite zone on a pullback to this zone would be where I would look to scale into a trade to the upside. Then you have 3064 as a target, 3168 and 3257. All right? Awesome. I'm going to call that a day. My watch is talking to me. I'm gonna call that a session, guys. Thanks so much for joining me. If you haven't already, hit the like button. Make sure you're subscribed. Join Trendy John and I and our entire Trendy Trading family in the Trendy Trading Room at Simpler Trading. We would love to have you there. Have an awesome weekend, and I will see you in the room on Monday. Much love to all of you.